Want to bet? You can do it at Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook. Football is back. We're already in week 3, guys.
Wow.
Like the Steelers play on Thursday.
Again. For the thrice time.
Baseball playoffs are coming. Hockey season right around the corner. You can bet pregame, live and play, or one of the many prop bets like we talked about today. Made for Canadians by Canadians. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now to see all that sports betting has to offer. Just head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Ontario only, 19 plus. Please play responsibly. So Kyle Dubas essentially said, and I'm going to paraphrase here because the exact quote doesn't really matter. It's more about, he said, Brendan Shanahan told me this summer that I will not be getting an extension for this year. And that doesn't mean he's fired. It just means that they're evaluating him on that year. And he said, I won't let it be a distraction because it won't be a distraction, or because I won't let it be because I won't let it be a distraction. Number 2, he said, I'm totally fine with that. I'm fine with being judged on the results of this year. And when you're a process guy, like this is where Kyle Dubas drives people crazy. Okay. Kyle Dubas was asked, do you remember the World Series a couple years ago where the Devil Rays, or just the Rays now, were playing their best pitcher and they're going into like the 6th inning and they're like, well, he's up around 100 pitches. You got to pull him. And everybody's like, leave him in. He's the best pitcher you have. And they blow it and they lose the World Series. And Kyle Dubas gets in front of the microphone and says, I'd have done the same thing. If that's your process, you got to stick to it. And
he graduated with a doctorate from the school of nobody wants to hear that shit.
Exactly. Because,
Come on,
because
man.
sports is about process, but sometimes it's about going, I got to call an audible.
Yeah.
And everybody, but Kyle's a process guy, and that's going to drive the average sports fan fucking crazy. There's no question about that. I can see Kyle wants to see this through. I think that it's unfair to say Kyle's vision was exactly executed. I think when you have a flat cap and COVID, I think they were expecting to be able to spend more money and add more players.
Yep.
I think they were, but that's not what the hand you were dealt. And he's had an opportunity to move on from some of these players and hasn't. So he obviously believes in the core. And why shouldn't he? What did CJ have in his article the other day? Like the 3rd most regular season wins in the last few years. Like it was crazy.
I think since Keefe was hired, the Leafs have the 2nd best record in the league behind the Avs.
Like
in the regular season.
And so I can't blame him for saying, yeah, I'm comfortable with the results and I feel like we're going to get through. If you're him, you must think, okay, like I can't do much better in the regular season than this. So what am I doing?
They've had a lead in absolutely every playoff series over this streak. It's torture. Like there is no comparable. So like the Leafs with Dubas, like depending on how this year ends, like it's a impossible decision to make, and it's perfectly justifiable either way they go. You go, this is a unicorn of a situation. Our team is good. If we keep bashing this triangle into the square peg, the square peg will eventually become a triangle.
And that's what CJ argued in the article. Like, don't play chicken with a guy like this. This is really good.
Yeah, keep going. Or do you go, if I had wheels, I'd be a wagon.
Right.
And it doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It doesn't work. It's torture. They were up 2-1 over the Caps in 2017. They were up in the 3rd period of Game 7 in 2018. They were up 1-0, 2-1, and 3-2 over the Boston Bruins in 2019. They were up 3-0 in Game 3 against the Blue Jackets and blew it. They were up 3-1 against the Montreal Canadiens and blew it. And they were up 3-2 against Tampa.
2-1. And 2-1 as well. 2-1,
2-1 and 1-0. And we're
with 3 leads.
And we're leading Game 6 in the 3rd. Or heading into the 3rd.
And lost Game 7 by 1 goal.
And lost Game 7 by 1 goal. Fuck!
And I can guarantee you this. If the Leafs don't re-sign him, no matter what happens this year, he'll be signed immediately.
Oh, that's not even
results like that. Yeah. And he'll be paid. He'll probably get a raise.
If you listen to yesterday's CJ show, CJ said exactly that after he wrote his article. He got a couple texts from people around the league saying, yeah, Kyle Dubas would be working in my organization tomorrow if he was available.
Absolutely. And if you're the owner of an NHL franchise, I'd be like, fucking whatever he wants.
That's one of the smartest hockey minds working right now. And one of the things I read, I think Jonas Siegel had it in his article, was that this is Kyle Dubas is the longest tenured GM that the Leafs have had since Cliff Fletcher in
the early 90s.
His first tenure.
Actually?
91 to 97 was Cliff Fletcher, and
He's
Kyle
been like
Dubas.
4 years.
Kyle Dubas has been there since 2018, and he's surpassed everybody in between him.
That's a joke.
The Leafs don't hold on to GMs, and here's a good, smart hockey mind that give him some runway. You always do this where you fire the guy 2 years in, 3 years in. You just say, all right, let's reset. How about this time we try something new? Because the old process didn't get you a cup. So let's try it where you let the guy have more than 5 years, give him a decade or something and see what he can do.
You know what's going to make it way harder to sign Austin Matthews? Firing the guy he's currently negotiating with.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be a real tough one.
I think also, and you're going to get a lot of comments in response to that. And you're going to get a lot of people pushing back going, yeah, but they haven't had the results. And you're right. The postseason results are not there. I think the perspective you're coming from here, if you're pro Dubas in this situation, is but if you want that playoff success, the best way to do that is to hedge yourself with the best possible team. Sometimes you do need a new coach sparks things.
Mm-hmm.
Like we saw it in Jersey. Lou fired a coach, another coach took over. It was amazing. Look what happened in St. Louis a few years ago. They fired the coach.
Yep.
Sometimes you fire a GM.
Won 2 Stanley Cups after firing their coach midseason.
With Mike Sullivan.
Right.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's the case, and we've only given you coaches. I can't remember a case where a GM was fired and then the next year the team's like, we're good now.
Yeah.
But it's probably happened. There's been 107 years of the sport, so I'm sure it's happened. Yeah. It's just, I could see both sides here. I lean towards, let's see what happens this year. I don't think first off, it's terrible PR with the older school fans if you sign Kyle Dubas now to an extension.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also,
true.
if you're
that's
the board,
very true.
If you're the board at MLSE, you're a little bit results based, man. Mm-hmm. Sorry that we just mentioned it earlier, right? Oh, I'm sorry that you had to deal with this with your business, but did you win or did you not win? Yeah. That's what it comes down to, and that's what this business is. Did you win or did you not win? I think that Kyle's handling it well, and I think the Maple Leafs are doing exactly what they should do, which is we'll wait and see.
The Leafs have basically been like, I think their greatest victory financially over Dubas's tenure is instead of 3 playoff home dates, he's been able to deliver 4. Because they've gotten home ice advantage in a 7-game series. That's not enough. They need another round. They need 2, they need 3, they need 4. And I'm not bashing the guy. I was really excited when he came on board. I think he's a smart mind, and I think he might win the cup here. But Brendan Shanahan has been here long enough that he offered Randy Carlyle a contract extension. So we're talking about Dubas with this long tenure that's actually quite short. Mm-hmm. Shanahan's is twice the length. Now, he brought in Dubas, but he was the AGM, and it was under Lou Lamoriello. At what point does it go to him? Because this year, people keep talking about, who are the obvious targets? Dubas is the obvious target. His contract is ending. Okay, fine. Then the conversation turns to Sheldon Keefe. Supposedly, Keefe's Vegas odds of getting fired this year are ridiculously high. What?
He's been a very good coach.
He's got to have the highest win percentage in Leafs history for the regular season.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And it's not like he doesn't make adjustments in the playoffs too.
No,
they haven't been able to close, but he's certainly smarter than Babcock was.
Yeah.
Babcock looked like a Bruce Cassidy, who, by the way, has now the same moniker that Babcock has of being inflexible and not adjusting to teams. Yeah. Bruce Cassidy made Babcock look like a fool.
Game 7 2019 was humiliating. Mm-hmm. That was humiliating because they were the better team 6 games.
Yeah. But back to people on the chopping block. You were saying.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah. And then they lost 5-1. Sorry.
Had to Austin Matthews.
Austin Matthews. I mean, the dude's he's got to be negotiating that contract right now.
Well, and it was interesting to hear his comments on that because he said they asked him about it, and he's like, "And this is the last time I'll entertain this question. I love being here. My family's here. Well, not my family's here, but I feel like this is home or whatever." Mm-hmm. Blah 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 blah. The city's embraced my family, is what he said. And he said, and I can't sign an extension yet.
So there's that. I noticed a handful of things at the player media tour in Vegas. One was that Jordan Stahl came into the room with no representation whatsoever.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, not even a media person. Everyone else had a media person come in with them. Austin comes in with a Leafs media person, and this guy I didn't recognize. It ended up being his agent.
Oh.
Which not all the players had, very few.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they know these questions are coming. They're not coming from the guy who had the Pictionary room where I asked about aliens, but they knew the questions. Fuck you. The answers were funny. Anyway, they know the questions are coming, and they're trying to get out ahead of it because, like Austin said, there's really no point to having this conversation.
Not now.
It almost sucks for him that Nathan McKinnon signed because we're like, well, what about McKinnon? And then people said, all right, well, what about McKinnon? And then McKinnon's like, here's a contract. And they go, all right, Austin. Yeah. but like he literally can't sign.
Right.
He can't sign. Like it's a waste of breath.